so let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name, Jesus. Oh, you set me free.
All right. Welcome to UCAN Studios. I'm here with Mike Morgan. Say good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mike. Before we get to good morning, Mike, I want you to check out Spiritual Warfare Unit. If this is your first time, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. If you're struggling with food or clothes or baby formula or mental health, please click on struggling. Go down to our partners there for the community. Help out. All those things should be free or next to free for you. If you're struggling with drug rehabilitation or mental therapy, please go to UCANmichigan.com. Click on struggling. Punch in your information, and we will have somebody calling you within the next 24 hours. All right. Good morning, Mike. How we doing, buddy?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. So you are from Mid-Michigan Police K-9. Your website is midmichiganpolicek9.com. And just give people like a brief overview of what you do.
We train police officers and dogs specifically for the use of drug detection, explosive detection, and patrol aspects. And we also do contracting overseas for foreign governments and their military and law enforcement.
So you basically train dogs all over the world to find drugs.
I have, yes.
Man, we're going to get into that, and this is why I'm having you on the show, because your life is kind of cool. And so you work with a partner with UCAN in regards to having the dogs go out and check out the different the whole housing situation with people, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you can purchase the dog from me here about 2 years ago.
That's right. All right. So where did you grow up originally? Where were you born and all that?
Well, I was born in Eaton Rapids, lived there for about a minute, and then
Where?
Eaton Rapids, Michigan.
Where's that at on the
Just
hand?
south of Lansing, about
Okay.
18 miles south of Lansing,
All right,
Michigan.
Eaton. So you were there for a minute.
Yeah, we lived there for about a minute, and then we moved from Eaton Rapids to Lansing. And I did kindergarten through fifth grade in Lansing.
All right. What'd your parents do?
My mom and dad were divorced when I was about 3. My real dad worked for Michigan State University in the physical plant. His name was Don Morgan.
What's that? The physical plant?
The MSU was primarily heated with steam back in the day.
Wow.
So he knew his way around those underground tunnels and
Wow.
all of that kind of stuff.
I don't even think people know there's underground tunnels at Michigan
Well, they
State.
did back in the day. What was that game everybody played? Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
So my dad would get called in on weekends because some kid would find a way into one of those tunnels and get lost because it was a maze down there, and he'd have to go down and find him and bring him out because he knew it.
That's kind of cool. What'd your mom do?
She was a stay-at-home mom for the most part. After they divorced, she worked for the YWCA, the Young Women's Christian Association in Lansing back in the day. And then when she married my stepdad, I was about 5 or 6. And then we moved out to rural Grand Ledge. We were basically southeast Ionia County, and I went to Grand Ledge High School, middle school and high school.
All right. So what kind of kid were you growing up? Were you like outgoing? Were you a nerd? Were you a jock?
I was annoying. Very sarcastic and had I swear I had ADHD. I mean, I swear I was.
So you were like the class clown.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't always funny. Sometimes, it was just, I was a little bit disruptive. I was never like really super naughty, but I was enough that if I could go back to some of those teachers, I started substitute teaching here about 2 years ago. And after being in the classroom about 2 months subbing, I just decided if I could go back to all those teachers that I made their life total
just to give them a good apology.
I would just, I'm so sorry I was that kid because now I get it.
Right. How annoying, right? I was actually that kid too, so. I know. What a jerk, right?
Yeah.
So any high school sports at all?
I played football, but I didn't play. I was on the team. They called the group that I was associated with, we were called the Scouties. So we were basically used as the meat to run the opposing team's plays.
Okay.
Or their defensive plays or their offensive plays.
All right. So were you into dogs then?
No.
Okay.
My mom, we never had any pets growing up.
That's cool.
The first dog in that house, my oldest sister had, and then she moved back home for about a month, and when she moved back out, the dog stayed.
Ooh.
So that was the only dog ever in that house.
Right. I kind of got suckered in. My daughter had a St. Bernard, 192-pound St. Bernard, and she's like, if you don't keep him. He's going to have to put him down. And I'm like, it was like living with a bear. And I hated that dude. And then something happened, and he turned into my guy. And then I just loved him. And it was me and him. Dude, when he went down, I was like, gosh, that was bad, right?
They're pretty special.
Yeah, his personality, he was such a jerk. I don't know why I liked that about him. He just liked me. He didn't like anybody else. It was great.
They picked their people.
Yeah. So, all right, so you go high school, you did some sports. How many siblings did you have growing up?
I have 3 sisters. My oldest is 68, the next is 67. Then I have a twin sister who's 5 minutes older than I am.
No kidding.
I am, in turn, the only male and the baby of the family.
Wow. So you had 3 sisters prior to you. Man, the bathroom time in that house had to be short.
Yeah, well, I always thought if I went out and went in the swimming pool, we had a little swimming pool in the backyard, I didn't need to take a bath anyway. So.
All right, so you go through that. So high school ends, in what year is that?
I graduated from Grand Ledge in 1980.
All right, so 1980, you graduate high school, and then you do what?
Well, I wasn't very academically oriented, so college was not an issue or an answer for me at the time. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were coming out of Jimmy Carter, going into Ronald Reagan, and I just wasn't going to go work in a shop. I just wasn't me to set and do the same thing every day, all day.
Right.
And I pretty much figured in 6th, 7th grade that I was going in the Army.
Really? Did you do the pre-aptitude test and all that?
Yeah, I did the testing my junior year.
What was your percentile, you remember?
My AFQT,
Yeah.
I think it was like a 61.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so which branch did you decide?
I ended up in the Army.
So the worst tasting food out of all of them. That's
Well-
outstanding.
You don't have to worry about dieting.
No, you don't have
You
to.
run enough and you don't eat enough. You're pretty thin.
So you go in the 80s, and any memories that pop out to you from boot camp and A training?
I just remember the first weekend Liberty we got, where a bunch of the guys went that cost them singles. I opted out of that, and I got my first tattoo.
Oh.
And I'll guarantee out of all the guys in my platoon, I'm the only one that probably has anything to show for the money I spent that weekend.
Oh, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of them are kind of wishing and hoping, right?
Yeah. Hoping and wishing.
Right. So, all right. So you graduate. What was your MOS? What did you decide to do?
When I initially went in the Army, I was an infantryman, 11 Bravo.
Okay.
Later in my career, I picked up, because I did just over 24 years. Later in my career, I picked up 2 additional MOSs. I picked up aviation operations,
Wow.
which was 93P, and then I picked up intel analyst, 96B.
Wow.
So-
Aviation and intel.
Yeah.
Those two go hand in hand.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, we'll get to that part of the story in a little bit. All right. So 1980, you do base. Where'd you do it?
Funny, back at the time, Fort Benning, we called it the Fort Benning School for Boys because it was infantry and ranger school and jump school and all that kind of stuff there. But we had to make a stop at Fort Jackson, South Carolina back then because Fort Benning didn't have a reception center.
What month was this?
I was right out of high school, so a couple weeks after I graduated.
Oh, so it is roasting.
Yeah, I thought it was hot in South Carolina. We stopped there for 3 days, haircuts, uniforms, vaccinations, and all that. Then we bust down to Benning, and then I found out what hot was.
Yeah.
Georgia summers are oppressive.
Oh, and that 10 hours out in the sun, you're just dying. I don't know, man. I can't pick between a winter and a summer boot. I'm not really sure. I went in the summer. I did July, exactly the same. But I was in Great Lakes, right? And then we went out to Ventura, California for the H. All right. Anyways, nerdery. So moving on, and you do that, and then you go where?
I was stationed in Korea. I went to Germany. I was in Louisiana. I was in Colorado.
Hold on. Oh, that's too fast. Korea doing what? Infantry?
Being a grunt.
Okay. And any experiences there that popped out? Because I'm assuming it was 6 months.
Sorry?
How long was it?
It was a 1 year hardship tour. The married guys couldn't bring families. And I wasn't.
Okay.
So,
Smart.
yeah, it was 1 year tour. Absolutely. It was a 1 year tour. I think the biggest memory I have of that is when we did what's called Team Spirit.
Okay.
And that's just a big influx of troops from the U.S. coming in case the North Koreans came across the Jim River into the DMZ, et cetera.
Right.
So it was kind of funny that all of us guys that were there, permanent party station there, we learned that you don't march in your Mickey Mouse boots, those big air-inflated boots when it's super cold.
Yeah.
And I would just remember seeing the guys from the 25th Infantry Division out of Hawaii, out of Schofield, Hawaii, and the guys out of 7th Infantry Division out of Fort Ord, California.
Yeah.
And they came in, and this exercise was late February, early March, and we just see those guys road marching into their positions wearing those boots. And you want to talk about easy way of getting trench foot. I mean, all your feet do is sweat in those. And then,
it sucks to be you guys.
Yeah, truly. It's like you want to pull them aside and say, listen.
Right.
You thought their command had done that. But anyways, it was a really cool exercise.
It's just interesting the things that pop out, right?
Yeah.
All right, Seeley, so this puts you in what, June, July, August 81 when you leave?
Nope. I was over there. By the time I got done with my training, I was in Korea from, I think it was May of 82 to later in 83. So I was
probably June, right?
Longer. Yeah, well, just a little bit longer.
Yeah. All right, so you come back. You said you went to Louisiana.
Yeah, well, while I was over there, just on a side note, I did get to attend the Korean Army Ranger School. That's why I was there a couple months longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
How'd you like that?
I liked it better than their troops did because the instructors had these. I don't know what they were. I'd call it a baton, but I don't know if that's what it was. And man, they'd whack their guys.
It's like having a nun.
Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't always on the knuckles.
Yeah, I know, right?
But their guys, they were really.
They didn't hit you with it, did
No,
they?
they didn't. I don't know whether that was some agreement we had with them or what, but I was just like, wow, they were really tough. And I tell you, those Korean Rangers, those guys are the real thing, man. They're pretty tough.
All right, so you come home, you go to Louisiana. What's the next step?
Just did my time down there. And then I ended up out in Colorado at 4th Infantry Division at Fort Carson.
All right, hold on. How much time passed from Louisiana to Fort Carson?
Just over 3 years.
Okay, so you're about to re-up.
I did re-up, and I re-upped to go to Fort Carson.
All right, what was the purpose?
At the time, I liked hunting and fishing and
that'd be a
camping.
great place to go.
And the Army has a habit of putting all of its posts pretty much in like remote areas. And Fort Carson was just like on the south end of Colorado Springs. So it was one of the few Army bases that actually had a major metropolitan area, around.
Right.
Plus you had the Rockies and Pikes Peak.
Oh, I'm sure the views were gorgeous.
Garden of the Gods. I had a group of guys. We did rock climbing and Garden of the Gods,
That's
all weekend
awesome.
in the summer, yeah. So enjoyed both places.
All right, so how long did you stay there?
Almost 4 years.
Oh, it's for the whole time. Now, what were you doing? Like, what was your responsibility?
Again, I was a platoon sergeant at the time.
Oh, you were a sergeant.
I had been promoted, and
How did your personality adapt to that position?
I think in the infantry, my personality fit perfectly.
And for those that don't know, that means you have to invent the most amazing ways to cut someone down to get them built down so you can build them back up, right?
No, that really wasn't. That's a drill sergeant's job more than ours. Ours was to make sure we had those young men prepared for.
Yeah, so I remember hearing, like, I have memories of coming back in some of the most unique ways. I was like, man, I've never actually heard somebody cut somebody down that way.
Well, the funniest guys I've ever met in my life in the military were drill sergeants, and they knew it. I did more push-ups. I was on my face more at Fort Benning because I couldn't help but laugh. These guys they're one-liners. And, there were a few of them that never cracked a smile, but then there were the ones you could see they were fighting it because they knew they were darn funny.
Oh, yeah. If you got that coffee book that said Sergeant's Best Comebacks, oh, God, that's great. Before we go on to the next one, we got to go to our first break. Please hit midmichiganpolicecanine.com. Like, share, and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program.
Hey, it's Aaron with UCAN. We're down here at the Unity Fest the Heart of Flint is putting on, Kersley Park Pavilion over here on the east side. Doing a lot of great things out here with a lot of great people. There's all types of vendors, people giving away food and water and clothing, just a lot of resources for the community. UCAN's out here and we're talking to a lot of people already whose loved ones have been afflicted by the disease of addiction. So we're able to get our information out, hopefully be able to provide resources to those folks in the future.
There's freedom in your name, Jesus. There's freedom in your name. You break every
All right, here we are at Unity Fest 2, and I'm here with the promoter, Jeremy. How are we doing today, buddy?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing great. We're here at the UCAN tent, handing out for United Community Addiction Network, getting everybody here helped out. It looks like a full house. How many people do you think are here?
Oh, a few hundred. We just opened, so I think it's going to get better, though, today.
All right, and how many people you got playing today?
We have 3 artists. We got Shantae Music, and we have Nick Hill, who's out of Saginaw, and then End of I. I don't know who they are, but...
Welcome back. All right, welcome back to Spiritual Warfare Unit on UCAN Studios. I'm here with Mike Morgan. We were just getting into his second tour. You were in Colorado then, and you did your 4 years doing platoon sergeant, doing rock climbing, hanging out with your buddies, the Garden of the Gods. It had to be a great time for you. So this put you in your like early 20s to mid 20s, right?
Yeah, I think. Early 20s.
All right. So any female dating, like serious dating at this time, or just?
Yeah, I got married my first time at 21.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and that passed by. So.
All right, so you hang out, get married, and if you're a military person, that is the most normal thing that happens. And then
it's nice to come home to home cooked food.
Something warm, yeah, man.
All that.
Coming home to an empty house sucks. All right, so you do that, and then so you're how old after your next 4? 25, 26?
Yeah, I left when I left Colorado. Mm-hmm. Well, we had gotten back from a deployment, and I remember us sitting in our cage. We're all trying to get sensitive items accounted for, weapons wiped down and turned in so we could get out of there because we've been gone for a few weeks. And the first sergeant came in, and he was dropping mail on everybody's laps, and he dropped this big manila envelope on my lap. And I looked at it, and in the top left corner, it said USAREC. And I looked up, I said, "Hey, Top, what's USAREC?" He goes, he laughed, he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he goes, "USAREC your career, Morgan." And he laughed and walked out of the cage. And I opened it up, and I had been DA, Department of the Army, selected for recruiting school. And, a lot of guys get out there on recruiting duty. They make a lot of stupid mistakes, get involved with the young high school girls with them trying to recruit, and they get into financial trouble and everything else. So that's why they called it USAREC. It was United States Army Recruiting Command.
Gotcha.
But when he made the USAREC your career, if you screw this up.
Yeah. So did you do it?
I did. Well, I had to have no choice.
So where were you stationed at?
Well, that's kind of a story in of itself. So the school was at Fort Benjamin Harris in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And there's nothing on that base. It was finance and I think journalism and recruiting school at the time.
Okay.
Which was funny because the recruiting command, I think, was based out of Fort Sheridan, Illinois at the time. But anyway, so you get down there and it's a 5-week school. You live in a hotel. So we stayed in a hotel. You had a roommate and you carpooled with the other guys into Fort Ben Harrison, and you went through recruiting school, which is basically sales. Yeah. And a lot of regulation, a lot of homework on regulations. They give you scenarios, you got an 18-year-old kid, he's got asthma, blah, blah, blah. Is he qualified? You got to go through the regs and figure it out. But so while I was there, about the beginning of the 4th week, and we had weekends off as a gentleman's course. We had weekends off. I think it was like the end of the 3rd week or early 4th week. They came around and handed you your orders where you were going to go. Yeah. And I had been home on a weekend prior and talking to my dad. We played cribbage, and he said, "Where are you going to get stationed?" And I said, "I don't know, Dad. They pick it." And he goes, "Well, why don't you try to get stationed around here?" So that Saturday mid-morning, I went into a recruiting office because I knew they worked weekends. Yeah. And they said, "Hey, you got to go across the streets, company headquarters." Company headquarters said, "Hey, you got to go downtown Lansing, battalion headquarters." So I get down there and I get a meeting with the sergeant major, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to be in your battalion here in Lansing if it's, I went to Grand Ledge, blah, blah, blah." Yeah. He goes, "We'll keep an eye on you in school." So that 3rd week came around, and I got a packet dropped in my lap. I was going to Pittsburgh. So I was like, "Oh, well, I tried." Nope. I tried. Well, 3 days later, I get an amendment to my orders for Lansing.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Good for you.
So when I'm all done with school, I had a little bit of leave to get moved from, because I had left everything in Colorado. They want to make sure you graduate from school before they move you. So make the arrangements. Anyway, so I check in at the Lansing Battalion headquarters, and you go through the admin, the pay and finance, and then you meet the sergeant major, then you meet the colonel. And I'm sitting outside the sergeant major's office in some chairs, and he's just dressing somebody down in there. I mean, he is giving them the business. And when the door opened, this E7 comes out, and another E7 comes out, and off they go, and I wait, and I hear, Morgan! Like, yes, Sergeant Major. I go and I report.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, I get to follow this now.
Yeah.
He's all tuned up and in, rare form. I get to follow that. And he goes, where'd you say you were from? And I said, I went to Grand Ledge School, sir. He goes, well, today's your lucky darn day. He didn't say darn.
Yeah.
I said, Sergeant Major, and he goes, well, you were going to Sault Ste. Marie.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he said, but did you see that fat tub of poo that just left here?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, Sergeant Major. He goes, you're not going to be a screw-up like he is. And I'm like, no, Sergeant Major. I had no idea what the guy did.
Yeah,
He got involved with one of the young high school girls.
Oh, no.
And when you get the basic training, you remember they scare the bejesus out of you. If your recruiter promised you anything, or you had relationships with them, or you lied, we're going to find out. You'll go to prison and all this other stuff. Well, some young girl got to her boot camp and she squealed. So anyways, luck had it that particular recruiter had Grand Ledge, Potterville, Portland, and Portland St. Patrick's high schools.
Wow.
So basically, I got put right in my hometown.
So one guy's crap is another man's potpourri.
It was. It was
right.
kind of cool.
So you got to hang out with family and do that. How long were you there?
That took me to just short of 1990.
All right. So that puts you in
3.5 years. So
you're 10 years in now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what happened is I didn't re-enlist because the first wife was from that area as well. And she said, why don't you just get out? And so I listened, and I became a traditional guardsman 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
And went to the police academy in Lansing. Decided I was going to get into law enforcement.
Sure.
So I went to the police academy in Lansing, the 46th Mid-Michigan Police Academy at Lansing Community College. And did that for a while. I had a dog.
So that's where you introduced the dog. Now, why dog? Why not something like, did they just put you there or you requested it?
So what happened was when I was in the academy, when you're in the academy, they have a permanent, or not a permanent staff, but they have various agencies in the Lansing area have officers or lieutenants and sergeants assigned to the academy.
Gotcha.
And they're there every day, all day. They're like drill sergeants, so to speak. And then you have visiting instructors.
Okay.
So like Judge McCabe, Pam McCabe taught laws of arrest, and Mike Steffel was a Michigan State Police inspector. He taught Fourth Amendment stuff, et cetera. When we were doing a class, it was a Lansing officer, an older guy, and he was teaching accident investigation, I think. And so on one of the breaks, those guys would actually talk to you. The other ones they didn't.
Yeah.
So he was telling us, a group of us, he said, you guys better find something in law enforcement you want to do. Besides chase taillights and make arrests. Yeah. Because your longevity is you're going to make it about 5 years, you're going to burn out.
Wow.
Which got
is that the average?
He said about 5 years you're going to burn out. I don't know what the average is.
Okay.
But, so it got me to thinking, where do I want to head with this? I don't want to get into forensics and don't want to be a detective, and traffic bored me.
But dogs.
So I thought, I love dogs.
And you never had any growing up?
Nope.
So how did that happen? Why did you love, that's the part that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does. So a side story is our neighbor out in the boonies had a really nice German Shepherd. The family name was the Milligans, and I worked for him in the winter. He was a fur trader back in the day before Bob Barker got involved.
Real, a fur trader?
Right. He would buy, people would bring, like if they raccoon hunted, they'd bring the coon pelts in.
Okay.
Trappers would bring muskrat mink. Okay. So I worked for him in the summer. They had the coolest German Shepherd named Bingo.
And that's where
I absolutely adored that dog. I would go over there. Through the woods and across the creek into their back area. And I'd go over and say, hey, can I take Bingo? And Bingo and I'd go across the road from our property with state land. And I spent all kinds of time with that dog. And he was just an amazing German Shepherd. So
now it makes a little more sense, because you were like, I never had dogs. I'm like, what in the world?
It wasn't because I didn't want one.
Yeah. All right. So now you're how old? 26, 27 right now? In the story?
No, I'm 29, 30.
29, 30.
So All right.
So you decide the dog. Now, was that an open thing, or did you have?
So I was working for Eaton Rapids at the time, and I went to the chief at the time and I said, hey, if I buy, train, and get it certified, will you let me work it on the road? And he agreed to that. And
Wait a minute. You created your own position by saying you'd be willing to pay for that.
correct. So
Wow.
I got the dog,
Okay.
did the training.
How much was that? That had to be expensive.
Oh, no, I just bought a pup.
Oh.
And I raised the pup, and when he just was a little over a year old, started his training.
Okay, because I remember how much the dogs are.
Well, yeah, when I imported from Europe for my
All right, we'll get to
program.
that part. All right.
Yeah.
So you just got, what kind was it? What kind?
German Shepherd.
Okay, so you get a German Shepherd, you raise it, and were you already trained, or you did the
Nope.
training with the? Okay, so how did that happen?
Actually started training with a local trainer in Lansing area.
Okay.
And, there were some mistakes made, but I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. And so when I was all done, I took the dog down to Troy, and we got it certified with the North American Police Work Dog Association. Taylor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
A guy named Ed Clute was a master trainer with NAPWADA. And
What's that, NAPWADA?
North American Police Working Dog Association.
Okay, all right.
And so they did a big state workshop, and I went down there and I got the dog completely certified in all the areas that need to be certified in. When I went back and said, okay, here's the certification, here's the dog.
Yeah.
We had, me and a guy at the DPW had set up the car.
Yeah.
And he said, nah, I don't think we're going to do this.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's a whole.
Wait a minute.
That's a whole nother story. I don't
He
want to
said
get into.
yeah, and then you did it, and he was like, nah.
Correct.
Okay, we're not going to get into that part.
Right, I don't want to.
That's fine. So what happened then?
Well, then I said, I'm going to work somewhere else.
So now you're like, dude, I totally dig this.
yeah, and you.
So you're looking for that.
I don't like people who don't keep their word.
Sure.
I shake your hand, it's gold. So I started.
So you started
applying.
looking?
I started looking.
All right.
And Doug Rogers was the chief at DeWitt Township,
And where's that at? Do it.
north end of Lansing.
Okay.
Butts right up to the north end of Lansing.
All right.
It's a 36 square mile
Well,
charter
how many?
township.
All right, answer me this: how many people like actually have like certified trained dogs in like the police area? It's not that much, right?
No.
Okay, so you're actually providing a service that was necessary.
Right. And so I went,
Right.
when I went through the process with DeWitt Township, interviews, background checks, and all that, I ended up getting hired. And I told the chief, listen, I got this dog. Here's his credentials.
Oh, so you got hired on your own merit, and then you said, "I have the dog."
Right. So then he's like, well, that's something I've been wanting to do here for a while. And so he took it to the township board, and long story longer, it got approved.
Cool.
Yeah, they put me in.
All right. So what year is this? 91.
Nope, because I worked for Eaton Rapids from 91 to like 93-ish.
So this is 94.
Yeah, so 94, I worked for DeWitt Township from 94 to 98.
Okay.
And had the dog on. And then DeWitt Township sent me to a lot of seminars and a lot of training courses.
Sure.
And eventually they ended up sending me to a trainer's course to learn how to be a trainer.
Train the trainer programs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went down to Von Lake Kennels in Indiana.
Okay.
Was down there 7 weeks. Went through their program, which was an amazing program at the time.
Yeah.
And worked with a guy named Ken Licklider, who has more dog knowledge in his little finger than most people have in their whole
Wow.
body. He's an amazing, knows so much about dogs. But anyways, got to work under his tutelage. Mm-hmm. And in 97, I decided I was going to open up my own shop.
All right. Before you get us into your own shop, we got to go to another break.
Okay.
If you've not gone to MidMichiganPoliceK9.com to check out what they're doing, please do that. Spiritual Warfare Unit, like, share, and subscribe. Sit tight. We're going to be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and but it's showing me how to do the good parts, and I'm trying to apply that and make a better life for myself because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from. And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us, and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way at UCAN Studios. Please check out UCANMichigan.com. We're here with Mike Morgan from Mid-Michigan Police K-9, and we were just getting into your stories. You had just said you were about to go where?
Well, so what happened was I was at my drill weekend, and a master sergeant showed up and asked if he could talk to me for a few minutes. So we took a walk and ended up using my dog. He asked if he could borrow me and my dog one day during the week, and we ended up doing an armory and doing a search there. And Doug Rogers, the chief of DeWitt Township, said as long as it didn't cost township any money, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So we had some success with that, and about a month later, I got a call from the same master sergeant. His name was First Sergeant Wood.
Yeah.
Great guy. And he wanted to have lunch. So I had lunch, and he said, listen, we got this position, active duty position in the National Guard here. It's in the counter drug division. Would you be interested?
No kidding.
No kidding. I did the math. I thought, well, heck, I only need like another 10, 11 years.
Yeah, and
to
you're
retire.
golden.
And at the time, you had to be 55 to retire from DeWitt Township with a retirement program. And I did the math. I'm like, I'll be retired at age 42, 43 if I want,
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving DeWitt Township, taking the active duty job.
Hold on. Now, I want to make sure I have this right. So because the one guy said, do something you want in the police force, you decided to get a dog, then you trained the dog, then that didn't work out, then you shopped around your abilities, which got you to this spot, which then put you back in the military doing something you want to do with the dog. Have I got all that right?
Well, I didn't use the dog, and my dog was retiring.
So you had to get another one?
Nope. So my dog was retiring from active service with DeWitt Township.
Yeah.
It was coming to his dogs typically retire between the ages of 7 and 8. Well, you figure from 91 when I bought the dog, he was at a retirement age.
Yeah.
So it just worked out well that Michigan National Guard offered me that full-time job. On active duty at the same time my dog was retiring, because I don't know that I would have enjoyed being a police officer without having those rabbit ears in my rearview mirror. You know? So there was no dog involvement with the Guard other than that one time where they had me go do an armory.
Okay, so
a search at an armory. I did that. They put me on orders for that day to go do that.
Gotcha.
But the dog was still mine in DeWitt Townships.
All right, so when did that turn into all that travel and all those places and all that stuff?
So I had started the company in 97.
Yeah.
And, it's a slow roll to build a reputation and put out a good product. And then I started picking up overseas work. I had a...
How did that happen?
They
just Googled?
The internet. And then...
Okay. Yeah, but this is the late 90s.
Yeah.
So that's telling me how rare what you do is.
It was. Everybody and their brother's training dogs now. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting.
But back in the late 90s, it was
up and coming.
All right. So someone literally Googled, where from? Where's the first overseas one?
Philippine Airlines.
Okay. What year was that?
Boy. Started the business in 97, so like 2003.
All right, so basically for about 5.5, 6 years, you're building your reputation, doing your stuff, and you're in the military at this time.
I'm on active duty with the National Guard, counter drug.
All right, and where are you stationed at for that?
They had assigned me out to the Michigan State Police Aviation Section.
Oh, okay.
There was a bit of a rub between the National Guard's counter drug assets and the state police.
Of course.
So I kind of went out there as a liaison.
You mean there was an ego problem between people that are in the military? Are you kidding me?
No, it was actually, quite honestly, it was an issue between Flight hours, the guard was
Really?
the guard was getting a lot of work, and that was costing some of troopers get. I think the retirement's based on their best 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
This was really cutting into that. So there's a big rift there, and it got sorted out, and everybody's playing nice in the sandbox.
And your job was to be the liaison for that?
Exactly.
Oh,
And
good for you.
then I ended up running the summer hemp program when they used to fly around looking for pot.
Yeah.
I put that schedule together every year and briefed it and managed it and did callbacks for when like one asset got weathered out and that agency wanted them to come back and finish.
Okay.
I managed all that. That's what I did out there primarily, and then did the statistics and the report to the DEA
All right.
for the grant
And how long did that last?
until I retired. I retired December 1st of 05.
So you did that in 05, and then you went directly into your school and travel? Is that like...
Nope. So as far as college goes,
Yeah.
in order to get hired by DeWitt Township and most agencies at the time, I needed a bachelor's degree. I had an associate's.
Okay.
So I worked on my bachelor's, went to Spring Arbor University.
Criminal justice?
Sorry?
Criminal justice?
No, actually, it was organizational development.
Wow.
So
That actually kind of makes sense.
it was a great curriculum, Spring Arbor. So at the time I applied at DeWitt Township, I was within like a couple of months of graduating.
Gotcha.
So I got credit for having a bachelor's and was allowed to process. So
Gotcha.
then I got the job with the military, back on active duty with the
Right.
Guard,
Yeah.
and started my master's at Spring Arbor.
Which was what?
It's organizational management.
Oh,
so
okay.
basically it's going into organizations and cleaning house and better policies and, processes and things like that.
Yeah, and identifying personality conflicts,
And
conflict
where things
resolution.
are backlogging at and how to smooth it all out. So finished my master's in 2000.
Okay.
Graduated my master's in 2000. Started looking at PhD programs, and they were all public administration,
Yeah.
social work,
Yeah.
hospital administration, education. So there really wasn't anything that I liked. And I didn't have a strong science background.
Yeah.
So that kind of got put on the back burner.
Hmm.
So, but yep, Philippine Airlines took me over there twice a year. They'd send their guys here for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then I would go over there in the spring for 3 weeks and the fall for 3 weeks.
All right. So you retired, and this is your main income?
Yep, this is what I was doing at the time.
All right. So, like, the pictures you have, like, for the people that don't know, in our office here, from all over the place, right?
I've been very blessed to do a lot of good traveling.
Yeah, and just the amount. So, what is that picture with all those just piled drugs?
Oh,
Piled.
that was here in the United States. That was one of my.
Shut up.
He's became a great friend. His name is Travis Bowles. At the time, he worked for Richmond, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Had a stop on a semi tractor trailer out on I-75. Richmond's just south of Lexington.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was office furniture, and all the office furniture was packed instead of foam. Was packed. That was like 1,800 pounds of marijuana.
1,800. It was so tall. It was outside the picture.
Yeah. It was in a
1,800
warehouse.
pounds.
It
That
was
was
all
in
on
America.
pallets. Yeah. And then the same guy got $500,000 like not even quite a year before that on a stop. So he was very active, very successful.
Wow.
Great guy. Had a dog named Rexo. That
All right.
I
So,
trained.
like, what was the next overseas? Because there was like India or something.
No, I did the Philippine Airlines contract. I did a contract in Nigeria with the Nigerian Army for 48 bomb dogs.
How long were you out there?
That was 6 weeks.
Dude, what was that experience? That had to be Nigeria.
What?
That's
Oh.
got to be crazy.
We were in Abuja. Nigerian people are just the most graceful, friendly, welcoming.
Just sweetest people.
They are. They're just super nice people.
Wow.
I feel that way about the Filipinos.
Yeah.
My time there, I felt always very welcome and very hospitable, very kind.
Yeah.
Nigeria, I did. I had the contract with Bahrainian Kingdom of Bahrain's customs.
Wow.
And that kind of got squashed after COVID hit. That kind of
Yeah.
stopped that. I went to Afghanistan working on for a NATO contract.
What year was that?
Oh boy, let's see that I left on. It was kind of a whirlwind because I left on July 1st out of Detroit, flew to Washington D.C., went to the Afghan consulate there, sat all day waiting for a handwritten visa. Then I flew to Poland where we picked up the guy I buy my dogs from, and he and I flew to Afghanistan. We went through Dubai and then on into Kabul.
Wow.
So yeah, probably the most dangerous place I've ever been. We didn't have protection details. We didn't have armored vehicles.
You didn't have armored vehicles?
Nope. We were working with a civilian businessman there to get this contract, and he would pick us up every morning in a Nissan Pathfinder. The windows were slightly tinted. The driver had an M4. The other guy in the front seat had an AK, and I thought if anything happens, that driver's never going to see that M4 because I got a better grab on it than he does.
Wow.
And it was kind of funny because the guy I buy my dogs from, he's never been in the military, never seen any of that, and he's a lot younger than I am. And after the second day out, he wouldn't leave the compound. We stayed at a place called the Green Village. As a UCAN. It was run by Garda World. Nice facility.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't leave the compound. He was just between diarrhea and vomiting.
Oh, yeah.
He was just a stressed out mess.
Oh, poor guy.
I have my faith in Christ and God. I just figure your date of departure has been predetermined.
Absolutely.
And you can't hide from it.
Right.
So if I'm meant to die in Afghanistan, I would.
Right.
And
if not, I won't.
And that's exactly it. And obviously it wasn't in the plan because here I sit.
Yeah. How long were you there? 6 weeks again?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. All right.
And then...
and you were able to get the contract and work?
Nope. Actually...
you went through all that for nothing.
It actually went back, right? It actually went right back to the same... I think it had a lot to do with they were threatening to take it away from this other company, which wasn't doing it. We drove right through their checkpoints, and the Afghan handlers were all sleeping in lawn chairs, and the dogs were in cages and crates. And
gotcha.
And I don't think anybody seriously wanted to tighten things up. It was just an exercise to bring the price down from the other vendor who was already in place. So.
All right, well, before we get to this next part, we got to take another break. So if you have not gone to midmichiganpolicecanine.com, please check out what he's doing there. Hit spiritualwarfareunit.com, Michigan, UCANmichigan.com, and we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Aaron with UCAN. We're out here at our third annual golf outing here in the Genesee Valley Meadows. So, really good day. We have a great number of teams, great sponsorship, great people. We're hoping for a great time. The weather's good. So, we appreciate all the support we get at all of our events. It helps us fight the fight that we fight. So, thank you all. Stay the course.
A lot of fun with a good cause. This is a very good cause, and I enjoy doing it. And I have my sons with me today, and we're just going to have fun. We know we're not going to win, but we're going to have fun.
Oh, today is an awesome day today. This is our 4th or 5th one here, and can't thank UCAN enough for what they do, especially on this situation where they have this outing. Mark and Debbie and all of them. It's just an amazing outing, and I couldn't think of it brings back memories, but it's a wonderful thing, and we really appreciate it.
Welcome back to UCAN Studios. We are here with Mike Morgan, and he was just getting into some of the places we had around the world. Is there any other places you want to talk about real quick?
Oh, I think one of my favorite places, I went to Thailand, which was a lot of fun. I was there during the New Year, but I did a long stint in India, 5-6 months there, the first time setting up a program. We have a National Guard. Each state has a National Guard. Well, in India, each state has its home guards.
Okay.
So I was in the Punjab state, which is up by Pakistan.
Yeah.
And went over there and on a home guards military base, helped establish a canine training and breeding institute.
Wow.
Kind of built that program from the ground up, and it's up and running now. The idea behind that is I trained myself out of a job.
Yeah.
And we did that. I went over there for 5-6 months the first time. And then I went back 3 more times for 8 weeks each time to just move the people up in their abilities.
And what were those people like?
When I got there, I flew into Delhi from Chicago, and I had to go over to the domestic terminal, and I was kind of hungry. So I got a bag of chips and a Coke, and I'm standing in line, and people are just cutting in front of me and grabbing and paying. I'm like, really? You guys don't know what lines are? And I was like kind of taken aback by that. But after I'd been there a while, when you go to a place to have lunch, like if it's a table for 4 and you sit at it,
Yeah.
they'll bring 3 more people and put them with you. They take advantage of every space, and you get really a chance to talk to them. And I really found that as a whole, there's a billion people trying to survive.
Yeah.
But one-on-one or in small, they're just, again, very gracious, amazing people.
Wow.
And I give props to the food. I like spicy food, and that Indian food is one of my favorites.
Yeah. I've told people in the Indian restaurants here, I was like, that music in the background is someone yelling, going to the bathroom, because I cannot do that spicy stuff. Like, God bless you for that, because curry, like,
Yeah, everybody calls it deli belly.
Deli belly, it's
Yeah.
perfect. All right, so you're doing this, and then, so when did you decide to start doing Ironman?
So I retired in 2005, and I
Mm-hmm.
started thinking that exercise was playing golf and eating cheeseburgers and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And that really piled on me. I mean, I was up to 240 pounds.
Whew.
And coming into 2012, that spring, I was going to turn 50 at the end of that year, or
Gotcha.
October of that year. And I thought, man, you better stop. I was
Wait, so
drinking 6 to 8 20-ounce bottles of Mountain Dew a day.
Yeah, so you decided at 50, I would do Ironman, which is hard at 20.
Well, it didn't start out with the Ironman, though, Isaac.
Okay.
What happened was I started running, and I thought I was going to die. That first 2 miles, I thought, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out, and so I quit drinking pop, which that was an instant 10-pound weight loss right
Okay.
there, just not drinking pop.
Yeah.
So then I started running farther and farther, and one morning I was like Forrest Gump. I thought I was going to run all the way across Greenbow County, you know?
Yeah.
And I did actually like an almost 7.5-mile run.
Wow.
And my golf partner, because I was playing golf on a league, he asked me, hey, you want to run the Crim here in Flint?
Yeah.
And that was in August. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'll be ready. Well, he bailed on me because his knee hurt.
Yeah.
And I ended up running the Crim that year. And I had run 10 years since I was on active regular Army, let alone anything. So I ran the Crim, and it felt really good. And I was probably down to 210 pounds by now. I lost about 30 pounds.
All right.
Sitting after golf one night, having a beer, but not a burger. And one of the guys come up to me and he says, hey, you've lost a lot of weight this summer. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm really worried though I'm going to gain it back this winter.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have winter running stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, you ought to do the YMCA. Lansing YMCA has this Try program. And he gave me the phone number for the lady who ran. Her name was Kathy Shipley. Amazing coach, an amazing story in of herself.
Yeah.
Just a super motivating, inspirational type gal.
Yeah.
So I called her, went home, told my oldest son, he was running cross country and swimming. I said, hey, you want to do this with me?
Yeah.
He said, yeah. So every Saturday morning, you get there at 6 and you swim for an hour, then you ride the stationary bikes for an hour, and you go outside and run. It's a regular, and it leads up to the Hawk Island.
Triathlon?
It's like, a little baby sprint triathlon.
Okay.
Drank the Kool-Aid. Me and my son must have done 15 sprint triathlons that summer.
Man, that's cool.
And it just grew from there. And so,
So it was a step going into the Ironman.
oh yeah, you've got to start.
How long was the time frame from when you started till you tried your first one?
Almost 2 years.
All right.
The first full Ironman was Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
That was 2015,
All right.
July, I believe. Great experience. So then the next year I did, and I was 50 with 12, 15. I'd have been 53 at the time.
Wow.
Did my first full Ironman at 53 in Colorado. The second one the next year at age 54 was in Lake Placid,
Yeah.
New York, which that one tried to kill me. That's a rough course.
Okay.
Then at 55, I did the one the next year up in Mont-Tremblant, which is just outside of Montreal.
Okay.
And the next one I was supposed to do was supposed to be in France. I was going to do Vichy, France, and I paid for it.
Yeah. And
That
then
was going to be in
COVID.
2019. And my daughter got her move-in weekend to MSU her freshman year. It was the same weekend. And I wasn't missing that.
Yeah, right.
So ended up petitioning Ironman. They were really gracious. I didn't pay for the insurance. They moved me to 2020 for France, and I did Louisville, Kentucky in 2019.
Okay.
And we all know that 2020 never happened.
Life happened.
Right.
Okay, so in the middle of that's extraordinary in your mid-50s doing the Ironman. Most people don't, like, I think about that, I just in awe of that. But we're moving that to the side because while this is all happening, cancer.
Yeah. You know,
The first one, when did that happen? What year are we talking?
2015.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd done my first Ironman
Yeah.
in July, August. I think it was July.
Like, how did you find out? Like, what was that?
My doctor said, "Hey, your prostate's getting a little big, Mike, and we need to do a biopsy because
Okay.
the PSAs were going up." And you hear about friends and people that are told they have cancer, and you empathize with them, but you really don't know how that's going to hit you until you
get smacked.
So you get the news, and it was, my first call was to Kathy Shipley actually. Because of some of her history.
Yeah.
And, we talked a little bit. And so anyways, I was done having kids, and they got a new robotic method for taking care of business. So I had my prostate removed in December, actually the 23rd of December of 2015.
That was like your Christmas present for yourself.
Yeah, it was something.
So how long did it, did you come back? Was it aggressive? Like, what was
No, so I've been very blessed. I get blood work every few months for another form of cancer, but so that was in December of 15.
Yeah.
February 16, I find out I have testicular cancer, and I think it's called seminal cancer, something like that.
Hold
it's very
on,
aggressive.
hold on a second. Wait. Okay. You do an Ironman. You're traveling across the world. You're doing stuff that you love to do. Then you get hit. How long was the time process from the time you found out about prostate cancer to you did that robotic procedure in December?
Oh, that was pretty quick, within 3 months.
Okay, so you hit that. They say we're good, and then 3 months later, they're like, "Oh, by the way,
I found a lump." I encourage all young men should be doing self-exams like women do with breast cancer. I happen to find that.
So you found it, and you're like, "Hey, doc," and they're like, "Worst case scenario."
And so the same surgeon at Lansing Institute of Urology, I said to him because they had an ultrasound done.
This is 3 months within each other. Oh my!
And I said to him, how many patients you get that have this happen? He goes, 42 years. You're the first. And then
lucky you.
So I get that taken care of, and I do another.
Wait a minute, hold on. You can't just say take care of you. Did you have to go through chemo?
No chemo.
Oh,
no radiation. They just remove it.
Surgery. So how long? So that I'm assuming that was right away.
That was within a few weeks.
Okay, so by March, you've gone through colon and testicular.
No, not colon, prostate.
Oh, prostate and testicular cancer.
Surgery,
in 4 months. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Then I did another Ironman that summer.
How do you process that?
I don't know. I'm not the
adapt and overcome, or
it's just I'm not a sit still kind of guy. I'm always like, what's next?
I'm exactly the same. Do you think that mentality is the thing that was like, okay, got it? What do we do? Let's get it done so we can get the next thing. Is that how you handle that?
That's how I handle it. No, most of the doctors I've had over the years say I'm a knucklehead because I don't recover and do what they tell me. But
yeah, because like with my car accident, I'm the only person that's come back functional, and their list of impossible things was my checkbox.
Yep.
I'm gonna do this in some form or fashion. You don't get to tell me what I'm capable or not capable. Yeah. And I think it's that process that helps us to get through it. So you get through that in February, March, and then your next Ironman was when?
August.
Okay, so you're doing this. So, do you do panels every 90 days or 6 months?
Every 90 days because of the testicular cancer. That form of cancer tends to spread to your lymph nodes in your core a lot.
Okay.
They used to radiate from nipples to knees, but then the younger guys were getting bladder cancer later, and they attributed that maybe to the radiation.
Okay.
So they wait for it to show up on a PET scan. I usually get one of those every other year.
Okay.
And if something lights up, then they'll pinpoint that spot. So it's a different treatment philosophy these days.
And how many times have you had to do that?
I haven't.
Oh, good.
I've been blessed.
All right.
Yeah, right. And then that summer of 16, had some, and it was only basal cell, but I had skin cancer cut off over my right eye.
Wow.
So, yeah.
But other than that, smooth.
Everything's good. Everything's good.
All right. So while you're because I want to get the whole scope of this. So while you're dealing with prostate cancer, testicular cancer, skin cancer, you're still moving forward, taking care of your body the best way you understand, keeping it in the best shape possible, and you're still traveling for work all over, right?
Correct.
Now, if I was to ask you 2015, 2016, 2017, how many countries would you go to in a year, do you think?
Just one.
Just one?
At that time, probably just one a year. I did India from 14 into 15, and then got home. I was home a week from India 2 weeks, and then I went to Nigeria. So that particular year there were two. So that's not the norm. And then the one year I did India and Afghanistan. I did Bahrain and India as well. So 2 a year.
All right, when was Bahrain in that?
Oh, Lord.
That had to be around 2017 or 20.
Nope, it was 18 into 19.
Okay. And what was that experience like? What are those people like?
Nice.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I mean, the Kingdom of Bahrain, it's so hot. You don't get to see a lot of people. Primarily, there's not much to do there, in my opinion, besides shop, nightclubs, and restaurants.
Okay.
You can't go out for a run because it's 130 degrees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't have a lot. The gentleman I was in business with or working with was an amazing guy. His wife was British. They were just a really nice family and very kind. But I didn't really have a lot of interaction. The Bahrainian customs guys that were the dog handlers, they had their own instructors. So my job was to pre-train the dogs,
Gotcha.
bring them over there, and then they would run them through their exercises to either accept or decline them. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So how is it you went from there to getting hooked up with Aaron Rubio and UCAN and all of us? How did that happen?
I get a call from Aaron. They were shopping around looking for a vendor to purchase their dogs. They originally were looking at getting 2, and I've seen where a lot of private industry, they spend the money on the dogs, and it doesn't have quite the effect that UCAN's success is amazing. So I kind of said, why don't you do 1?
Yeah.
And, that's not a really good business model to be that guy, but do 1, see how it works out. And then if it's successful, grab a second one. So that's how I met Aaron. And, the handler, Chad, came to my school for 5 weeks, did a great job. I mean, he and his dog have bonded so well. It's just an amazing, that's what I love is watching the cops bond with their dog or the handlers bond with the dog.
Well, we all know Hans, the dog, is the man. So Hans is the man. So
if he had thumbs and could drive a car, Chad wouldn't have a job.
I know, right? Yeah, and he loves doing it too, just like you do, man. Going in there and that dog just janks him all over the place. It's actually really funny to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell people I get $13,500 for a dual purpose police dog. And I tell everybody I get $13,499 because I got to train a human being. Only $1 of that's because I have to work with the dog.
No, that's particular. So you started working with UCAN, and then you also train the deputies in. We have 2 or 3 classes here, right?
I've had 2 classes here
2
now.
classes,
I moved from the Eaton Rapids area up to Fenton.
Yeah. And them dogs are beautiful, man.
Brought the business with.
Yeah, and so one of the things that UCAN does is it takes the dog and it goes into housing units like Salvation Army, New Paz, and a couple others.
Rehab
like
center,
Challenge.
residential rehab area.
Yeah, and being able to get those. They also want to do it for schools and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you have been just an absolute godsend when it comes to that. And if I was to ask you, based off of your life experience and where you're at this point, why it is that all the things you go through, you choose to help people. Like a lot of people would go through what you do and just go, that was tough and this was hard and this wasn't fair. But you just choose to see what's next. Why that? Out of all the experience, you had a lot of reasons to go. You had the Eaton scenario. You had the going back in the military thing. You had the ex-wife. And you just said,
2 ex-wives actually.
2 ex-wives. But why? Why survive? Why that?
I've always had my faith. I have not always acted in the manner in which I think we're supposed to. But as I get later in life and have had those experiences, it's made me realize everybody's going through something. And when that guy cuts you off on the road or flips you off or somebody's rude in the grocery store, you just never know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And when I was going through some of my challenges in life, I know I didn't behave the very best.
Right.
And, by the grace of God, people were kind to me and encouraging. So I guess it's just, like I said, I'm a what's next kind of guy. A lot of people were like looking at me sideways. I started my PhD 2.5 years ago, and I'm in the middle of writing my dissertation. They're like, what are you going to do with a PhD? Because I turned 60 here just a couple weeks ago. And they're like, what are you going to do with a PhD at 60? I don't know.
Who knows?
What's next?
Yeah. Well, I just want to tell you, I am so glad that you came in. This is such a great story. I really am kind of looking forward to whatever is going to be the next step for you. I appreciate you coming in. It's been a wonderful story. You do really great work with the deputies and the dogs and UCAN and everybody else. So I just want to commend you for that. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming in. If this is your first time, please like, share, and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit. Please check out spiritualwarfareunit.com if you know someone that's struggling. If you want to check out, see what Mike's doing, go to midmichiganpolicecanine.com. And of course, the heartbeat of what we do, UCANmichigan.com. Check it out. We will see you next week. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Too much to let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name, Jesus. Oh, you set me free. Now I live my life, singing songs of praise.